triple from Conwell proved that the Cardinals were moving like a snowball rolling downhill.
Bounce pass inside to the nail for Zougaris. Spins around, outside. Conwell launches a three. He nails it. Ryan Conwell, his third triple today. It's a 19-point Cardinal lead. 35-16, 3:30 to go in the first half.
At the break, it was finger-licking good for the Cardinals, up by 18 points, and Conwell led all scorers with 11. But out of halftime, the Cardinals were still hot from beyond the arc, with the first three-pointer of the second half belonging to Devon Hadley.
In transition, Woolley outside, a three-pointer in the corner is good. Devon Hadley, some more salt on the wound. 47-23, Syracuse trails. 2:45 played in the second frame.
There was salt in the wound all half long from the Cardinals. Louisville finished the game making 14 threes and shot 40% from downtown for the game. But after making a season-high 13 three-pointers last game against Wake Forest, Syracuse finally made the net dance from beyond the arc at the KFC Yum Center.
Syracuse 0 for 12. Kings trying to change that, and he does. Kings from the near arc strokes a triple and cuts the deficit to 18 for Syracuse. 5 minutes gone in the second half.
Kings now shooting 41% from beyond the arc in ACC play this season. Not too shabby. Now, midway through the second half, the Orange were, as Teddy KGB from the movie Rounders would say, hanging around, going on a 9-0 run, capped by a Sadiq White slam.
Woolley grabs the miss for Louisville. In transition, finds Rogers. He rises. It's blocked by Kyle. In transition, here's White. He slams it down. What a sequence by the Orange. Down by 13, 7:40 to go in the second half.
One of the best stretches today from the freshman, who has really woken up in the latter part of the season. Well, the Cuse would cut the lead to 11, but then it was all Louisville the rest of the way. The Cardinals countered with an 8-2 run, and 6 of those points came from who else but the conductor of the Cardinal offense.
Dumps it underneath for Ruths, into the corner, a three, yes! Ryan Conwell yelling out to the Louisville faithful as he gets that triple to go. 72-55, 3:45 left in the second half.
The senior finished with a game-high 23 points and made 5 threes in the contest for just the 7th time this season. But Conwell was not the only one who made shots for Louisville. Guard Devon Hadley put the nail in the coffin.
With 5 left to shoot, a three-pointer from Hadley from the corner is good. Louisville up by 20 after that three-pointer. 2:05 left in the second half.
The 18th and 19th points of the game for the senior put a bow on what has been a tough stretch away from the Dome for the Orange this season.
And now the clock hits triple zeros. Syracuse drops its 7th straight road contest, and it wasn't even close. Syracuse falls to Louisville 77-62 inside the KFC Yum Center.
Syracuse is now, get this, 8-23 on the road under third-year head coach Adrian Autry. Next up for SU, a regular season finale and a senior day in the Dome against Pitt this Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Well, our coverage almost done here before we turn things over to the double overtime. But first, we have to name our WAER player of the game. A lot of players impressed on offense today for Louisville and led to this big 77-62 win for the Cardinals. But no one better than Ryan Conwell, doing what he's done all season long. 23 points on 8 of 20 shooting. The most impressive, 5 of 13 from 3. He alone had more three-pointers than Syracuse had as an entire team. So, Conwell, our WAER player of the game. Syracuse, as we mentioned, just has one more regular season game left this year. That's coming up on Saturday, March 7th, when the Orange take on Pitt. The game is at 4:30. McClure Modeling Countdown to tip-off begins at 4 p.m. But our coverage is not over tonight. We have you set until 1 a.m. with the double overtime. Dan Shalom and Ben Chadwick have you set for what I'm sure is going to be some interesting conversations after loss number 4 in a row for Syracuse. You can, as always, call into that show at 315-443-2011. Before we send it off to them, a couple of quick thank yous to hand out to our producer, Nico Horning, doing a great job as always, our engineer, Jake Klein, on radio replay, Rowan Mastrangelo, and the entire WAER sports desk. Well, that's just about going to wrap up our coverage from today's matchup. Syracuse falls to Louisville 77-62. And I'm sure our double overtime hosts are ready to break down what was yet another disappointing Syracuse basketball loss. Dan and Ben, things just can't go right for this Syracuse team.
Surely, Alex, new day, same story for Syracuse men's basketball. The Orange falls 77-62 to Louisville at the KFC Yum Center. And Ben, you're just really running out of things to say about this team at this point.
And you just look at the first half alone. 39-21. Are you joking? I mean, that was pathetic listening to that on the call.
It was really a rough one to watch in the first half. Syracuse made it a little bit interesting in the second half, got back in the game, but it was a matter of just too little, too late. But guess what? Ben and I are here all night. It's never too late for us. We're with you until 1 a.m. Louisville takes down Syracuse 77-62. It's the double overtime. Our reporter Gino Antamarino is going to join us from the KFC Yum Center as he listens to Adrian Autry and everything else. Will give us all the inside boots on the ground from Louisville. But it's the double overtime here on WAER, and it starts right now.
On WAER is not. Here on the double overtime, we'll be breaking down all the highs.
Carlos kicks out. Freeman contested the three. It doesn't matter. It swirls home. The horn sounds, and Donnie Freeman sends this team into the locker room jumping for joy.
Starling from the right wing gets down the lane. His righty layup goes, and the Orange lead.
He's calling all the way for it. Wants it on Suarez. Spins back to his right. Baby hook up, and it goes. And one. Eddie Lampkin rocks the baby around the three-point line.
And the lows.
100 matchups between Georgetown and Syracuse. A long 95-year history. The rivalry is alive and well, and today the victors is Georgetown.
Low slices through the defense. Behind the back pass. Corhen sticks it up and in. A little razzle-dazzle from Jalen Lowe to Cam Corhen. And that one may be the dagger.
And thus ends the second season under Adrian Autry. And it finishes in the second round of the ACC tournament in 2025.
Delivering our hottest takes along the way.
But it just makes you wonder what is going on in practice, because each time that Adrian Autry takes the podium, it's a lot of, we're working on it.
We're getting better.
We're working on it. We're getting better. We're getting better. Well, sure. Maybe in theory they're getting better.
But
this is a fan base that needs you to be good now.
Say this about Syracuse basketball is crazy, because the brand of Syracuse basketball that I grew up knowing is so far distant from where this team is at now. But I mean, we could be talking about Syracuse at the bottom of the ACC.
I don't think this team makes the ACC tournament at this rate.
Get your voice heard by calling in at 315-443-2011 or check out our YouTube at WAER Sports Talk. It's the double overtime, and it starts right now.
Late one here on the double overtime as Louisville takes down Syracuse 77-62. Dan Shalom with you alongside Ben Chadwick. So much to talk about here on the double overtime, but we want to hear from you at home. Call in. Let your voice be heard. 315-443-2011. You can also interact with us on YouTube and Twitter at WAER Sports Talk. And once again, that number is 315-443-2011. Ben, we have to just start with really the beginning of this game, which was the first half. And Syracuse put up their least amount of points in a first half this season, their biggest deficit at a half this season. Sure, they made it interesting in the second half, but it didn't matter at that point
because they're already out of the game.
I was going to say, you took the words out of my mouth right there. I mean, we were in our Ostrom Avenue studios, and we were calling this game at halftime. If you're down 18 to a team that is flat out better than you on paper, you stand no chance, right? This is a Syracuse team that in the first half usually is actually their stronger half when you take a retrospect look at the season, and then obviously the second half is where things fall apart.
That was what happened with Wake Forest the other day.
That's why they're a 15-15 team right now, is because of second half deficiencies. In this game, the first half, I mean, they never even gave themselves a chance to even be in this game, despite a second half where they did outscore Louisville.
It kind of felt like that Duke game where things just got away from them down the stretch.
But Louisville is not Duke. And
Louisville is not Duke,
and
that speaks to just the state of the program and where things are at right now more broadly. But I want to go back to that first half because it wasn't just like Syracuse was getting outplayed. They went 0 for 9 from three-point land. Louisville, by the way, is a top 5 three-point shooting team in the entire country. They shot a 43% clip, and it seems like Syracuse just had no answer. The Orange did not have a bucket outside of the paint in the first half. And even more within that, most of the scoring was right under the hoop. It was mostly layups. That's ridiculous.
Do you want to know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of playing 5th grade rec league basketball at my middle school, where sure, yeah, I would be chucking up threes. Don't get me wrong. Were they going in? No. I would be shooting some mid-range shots, being like, all right, let me calm down here. Would those go in? No. And then we eventually resort to, all right, the tallest kid on the team, who at that point is what, 5'10", 5'11"?
Probably you.
Probably me at that point, honestly. Yeah, I hit a growth spurt later on in high school. But yeah, the tallest kid on the team, you just stand in the middle and keep volleyballing it up until that ball eventually goes through the hoop. That's, I mean, in essence, what Syracuse had to do in this game, right? They really had to do that because they could not hit a shot. That's how bad they were fundamentally on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, we got our first caller here on the double overtime. Keith from Casanova is on the line. Keith, what do you want to talk about?
Well, guys, there's 2 hours of my life I won't get back anytime soon. But
same
two
here.
things two things that just stood out to me that were ridiculous. That, after the first half, we have 21 points. We had a grand total of 2 assists. So 21 points and 2 assists. We ended the game with 8 assists. That's it. And there was a sequence midway through the second half. Kyan Anthony had the ball. He went 1-on-3, chucked up a shot. Of course, it didn't go in. Almost immediately afterwards, we had a breakaway. Ball goes to Kyan. He's got 2 guys wide open. Teammates to his left, doesn't pass the ball, goes for a contested layup with 2 guys draped on him, goes off the rim. And no ball movement, no creativity. You watch Louisville play, they're moving the ball around, they're sharing the ball, they're getting good looks. We are just playing iso ball, or we're doing 1-on-2, 1-on-3. That is not a recipe for success. And then defensively, ironically, Coach talks in the beginning of the week about how the team has just not been playing defense. 0 effort on defense. And what do? They come out flat as a pancake, 11 straight points, and we don't play defense all game. We give up layups down the middle of the paint. We just stand around and watch while players go down the hole. I mean, just appalling.
Keith, I'm very interested because a big conversation about this team this year has been about the effort and how maybe the team is talented, but the effort just might not be there. And you mentioned the lack of playmaking on the offensive side of the ball. I'm curious do you think that this team on paper and with the players on this team is actually talented enough to possibly should possibly make a run in the ACC tournament? Maybe should be a March Madness team, but with the way they've played this year, way they've played and been coached, is that the reason why?
No, we're not going in. We're going to lose the first game in the ACC tournament, and mercifully the season will be over.
I am wondering. Let's say you have someone.
We're magically going to make a run in the ACC tournament, not with the way that we're playing.
If you have someone other than Adrian Autry at the helm, though, do you think that this season is different? Or do you think it's just the talent being bad?
I thought a long, long time ago, I had made a comment on one of the times I called in that I thought Adrian Autry had lost this team. And what I meant by that was that just the general lack of effort. At the end of the day, it's up to a coach. I don't care what level you're playing, whether it's grade school, high school, or college basketball. Your coach is supposed to motivate you. He's supposed to instruct you. He's supposed to push you. He's supposed to get the best out of you, 110%. That is not what this team does. And it's not that we don't have talent. We clearly have some talent on this team, but just the lackadaisical, I don't care attitude, just milling around, standing around. And I wonder if we had a different coach, maybe we'd have a better record, and maybe we'd sniff the NCAA tournament. Who knows? I mean, that's all conjecture at this point. But with this current coach that we have right now, I stand by what I said a long time ago. I think he lost this team a long time ago. And if I'm a player and my coach says in the beginning of the week that the team is not putting out an effort on defense, that's the reason why we're losing, I'm coming out on that floor and I'm showing him the best defense he's ever seen, if it's the last thing I do, right? And we came out and did anything but. And so, do we have talent on this team? Sure. Do we have talent to win in the NCAA tournament? I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, Keith, we really appreciate the call, and thank you for calling in. Now, what I'm wondering about here, Ben, and I think Keith makes a really good point, is, I don't think anything's different, to be honest with you, with the different coach. I think it's just a fundamental issue from the top down here. I really, if you take out Adrian Autry and you stick in someone else, I really don't know what else, what changes, really. I mean, I understand that it's been, Autry, but you got to remember here for next year, none of these guys are going to be here. It's going to be brand new from the top down.
But the problem is, first of all, with that last point, we don't know that, right? We don't know who's going to be here and who won't be here next year. I completely disagree with you on that, though. Adrian Autry, if he leaves, if he's fired or whatever the case may be, and a new coach comes in, I completely agree with Keith. Coaching is where the team gets their
Autry
effort.
should be getting 100% out of his guys every night.
He should be, but
he's not.
Yeah, you could bring in, of course, Syracuse will never be able to bring in these guys, but you could bring in a Rick Pitino and a Dan Hurley. Those guys will get this roster to March Madness. I wholeheartedly believe that. This roster is talented enough with a good coach that will push these players to make a March Madness run, or at the very least, make the March Madness tournament. But the problem lies with these players playing hero ball on offense, not caring on defense. And when I say hero ball on offense, too, they don't move. If you watch these games, of course, when you're listening on the radio, we're talking about who has the ball. If you ever watch these games or watch the highlights after listening to our W8ER broadcast, you can see that the player with the ball is the only one moving. Everyone else is standing around the arc.
They're just stagnant.
And they are exactly. They are
It
stagnant.
drives me nuts.
They are standing still around the arc, waiting for a pass or just watching their teammate hopefully make a shot.
Now, what I don't understand is you watch Louisville and you watch just how that program has been turned around by Pat Kelsey and what he's done there. And you wonder, why couldn't that have happened to Syracuse? People forget that Louisville was in the depths of just the worst teams in all of college basketball before he showed up. They were awful. They were a terrible team.
Yeah.
And they went out there, nailed the coaching hire, and now they were ranked as high as 6th this season.
You said it right there. They went out. They went out there and made the coaching hire. This was an inside the dome, inside Syracuse University coaching hire. It's the same exact coaching and the same exact values that were with the team when they were struggling at the tail end of Coach Boeheim's tenure with the Orange, and those values and the effort level never really changed from those final teams. That is why Louisville is finding so much success. That is why Syracuse could possibly find so much success afterwards if they do find a new coach in the market. But when you have these inside coaching hires, that is when stuff like this does occur, when not many changes are made and the same thing just occurs over and over and over again.
I totally agree with you. But just going back to this game, when we talk about the effort and the way that Louisville was moving and the way that they were moving the ball, Keith brought up a great point that Syracuse only had 8 assists, which is just nasty to have as a team for a game. That is just straight up gross. But I want to go back to the 3-point conversation we were having just a little bit ago as we're talking about, the way Syracuse is playing, the way that Louisville just clearly was the better team, ran him out of the gym. And if you want to get your voice heard here on the Double Overtime, feel free to call in 315-443-2011. Louisville taking down Syracuse 77-62 at the KFC Yum Center. It felt like whenever a player for Louisville, whether that was Isaac McNeely, whether that was Ryan Conwell, mind you, they didn't have their leading scorer either in this game.
Exactly.
Their lottery pick. And they were still by far and away the best team.
Yeah.
It wasn't even close. And that's been the story for Syracuse every single game this season. I just can't get over it because it just hurts me on the inside that so many other programs have done what Syracuse should have done, which is just bring in the right coach, and then they're amazing now. It just drives me nuts because it's just you're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. It's just not going to happen.
I couldn't agree more. And yeah, Michael Brown, like you mentioned, he was out this game. He's projected to be a top 10 pick.
19 points a game for Louisville.
Exactly.
And it didn't even matter. You couldn't even notice it.
But what you said, it's a top to bottom thing with these teams, right? Many teams may rely on their star player, but the best teams, the teams that can make those runs later on in the postseason, are teams that don't rely on their Michael Brown, the teams that don't rely on their Darren Peterson or on their Cameron Boozer. Those are the best teams that can really make a run later on when they don't need to rely on that top player. Because when you don't rely on that top player, and let's say Michael Brown Jr. did play in this game and Syracuse somehow defensively shut him down, which would have been very unlikely, but let's say they do, right? He goes 2 for 9 in the game or whatever it might be. Louisville still wins this game by the same exact score. They still win 77-62. Even if he's in the game and has a bad game, because you have the surrounding talent, you have the surrounding coaching, surrounding effort on offense and on defense. That is something that Syracuse does not have. First of all, they don't really have that star player. Donnie Freeman is a very talented basketball player. He's not that star. And second of all, we've brought it up over and over, they don't have the effort on offense and defense.
But where the heck was J.J. Starling tonight? 2 points for a second straight game?
Where has he been?
Are you kidding me?
I mean, where has he been? That is the biggest thing with this team right now. J.J. Starling used to be the face of Syracuse men's basketball. Truly. Well, especially last year when Donnie Freeman was out for all that time. J.J. Starling was the face of Syracuse men's basketball. Was last year a great season for the Orange? No. But he was by far the best player on that team. This year, I don't even know if I'm putting him top 3, 4, or 5. I mean, he has fallen off the face of the earth with this team.
1 for 5 tonight for J.J. from the field. 2 points in total. 1 offensive board, 2 defensive boards. 3 rebounds on 19 minutes
He's got
total.
4 points in the last 2 games. He had 2 points against Wake Forest. This is unbelievable, man. He's played over 50 minutes in these 2 combined games. 50 minutes and 4 points. That's unacceptable from a player that you thought was going to be at the worst your second best player coming into the season.
He's supposed to be your leader. That guy's supposed to be your team captain.
Longest tenured player on the team, and he is absolutely disappearing when they need him the most. Disappearing.
It's just hard to fathom when you have a guy like, and I know not the same position here, but you have a guy like Sadiq White who got injured in this game.
Yes.
Still finished with 8 points, went 4 for 6 from the field, was putting an effort all game long, and JJ down the stretch when Syracuse is in this game, when it's only a 12-point game, what does he do? He goes back to what JJ Starling does, which is I'm going to play hero ball. I'm going to take 3 defenders down the lane, chuck up a layup, and let Louisville go hit back-to-back threes on the other end of the floor. And the game's over.
Now, don't get me wrong. There have been times where I was in the JMA Wireless Dome last year and I was watching games where it's late and it's a close game and J.J. Starling decides, I'm going to take over. And he actually does take over.
You can't rely on that,
No.
It's not sustainable.
I know. But he decides he's going to take over, and he does, and it's electric. The dome goes crazy. J.J. Starling's one of the best players on earth. But he's tried that multiple times this year, especially in recent history, in recent weeks. It has not worked. He's dropped 4 points in the last 50 minutes of basketball he's played, like we mentioned. He had 9 points against Duke, 4 points the game before. He is not the same. He's regressing as a college basketball player. That's not supposed to happen, man. That's not supposed to happen. He's not 38 years old in the NBA. Right, he's 22, 23 years old playing college basketball. This is not something that should ever happen, but it is. And Syracuse is really feeling the brunt of it because of it.
1,000,000%. Syracuse falls to Louisville 77-62. If you want one more stat to put on your bingo card, Syracuse has lost 7 games in a row on the road for the first time since the 1969-70 season. That should put things into perspective as to where things are at right now.
Yep.
And
in case people couldn't tell, no, we did not watch that season. We were
no,
not,
we're not that ancient. But Ben, back to this game in particular, especially that first half, the way that Louisville just opened this game up. They went on an 11-0 run from the 12:30 mark in the first half to the 10:30 mark, and that was the game. You and I said it to each other. That's the game right there when Syracuse was down 22-10. It's just absurd to me that a 12-point deficit with 10 to go in the first half is the end of the game at this point.
You mentioned Louisville opened the game up a few minutes in, about 7 or 8 minutes in, right? The way the game actually opened up, though, this was a tie ball game at 10-10 with about 6 minutes into the first half. This was a game where it was like, all right, Syracuse, look, Louisville's without their best player. Syracuse is jabbing with them. Maybe we're going to have a nail-biter at the end of this one. Absolutely not. And Keith brought it up before, too. Kai and Anthony smoking that wide-open transition layup.
Yeah, that was
on
bad.
the other end of the floor, McNeely drilling the and 1-3. Right when we watched that and listened to that on our broadcast, you could just tell oh man, this is gonna be a long day for the Orange, isn't it? And it was. Right, they lost by 15 points at the end of it. Keith made a great point about that play, and that was not the dagger, of course. We're not even halfway through the first half, but that was a moment where you kind of think, oh boy, they don't really have a chance in this, do they?
Well, you just go back to that first half, and Louisville has that 11-0 run, and Red calls timeout. You get the guys organized. You stop some of the bleeding. But then it's just inexcusable because you trickle down to with less than 4 minutes to go, and Syracuse makes one of its last 10 shots.
Yep.
In the first half.
Yeah, Louisville goes on a 12-2 run late in the first half. You mentioned that Syracuse didn't make a shot from outside the paint, but looking at just the three-point numbers, they went 0 for 10 from 3.
And it wasn't like it was one
well.
specific spot either. It was everywhere beyond the arc, dude.
It was
everywhere.
If you ever see those shot charts where sometimes it's red and like a light red, or sometimes it's blue or a dark blue, and sometimes it's purple if guys are really, really hot.
Yeah, the heat map. Yeah,
the heat map, precisely. Everything was, I think, as dark navy blue as you can get from beyond the arc. It was unbelievable.
It was just insane. Syracuse finishes this game 4 for 19 from beyond the arc with a 21% clip, which is just, again, really hard to believe that that's where we're at in the season. And you just kind of look at this team, and only 2 guys even hit a 3 tonight. And that was Nate George and Nate Kings.
Yeah.
They went 2 for 7 and 2 for 8. No one else outside of JJ and Donnie even attempted a 3-pointer.
Donnie going 0 for 3, too, is always going to be a rough look for what should be the best player on this team. And, yeah, Nate Kings dropping 14 points and going 2 for 7 from 3. He had one of the best games.
That doesn't do it for me.
But that's who he is, right? He was brought in to be the 3-point shooter on this team.
If you're brought in to be the 3-point guy, I want you hitting 4.
Yeah, of course. And, I mean, Nate George hitting 2 threes as well.
Don't even get me started on Nate George.
Please,
I am so sick of Nate George.
We're here till 1 a.m. I want to get you started on Nate George.
Sick of Nate George.
Do tell.
Simply because he has more turnovers this season than just any other player on the team by like 30 turnovers. The guy is a straight turnover machine. And I know it's trickled down a little bit over the last couple of games, but this was a guy that was brought in as the leading assister in the entire ACC, and then it just fell apart. We got Michael from Manlius calling in on the line. He wants to talk some Syracuse basketball. Michael, what do you got?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right. All right. So I wanted to tell you the worst soundbite of the game, okay?
Please.
The worst soundbite of the game is strategically sound. When we make a run in the second half, we don't follow through on it. This is bad strategy. That's my take on this, what's happened in the last part of the season. We've lost our ability to strategize.
How about the ability to just stop a run? Because it felt like Louisville had multiple runs as well.
Precisely. But when the next coach is chosen, I'm going to say I think we should go outside the family, and I don't mean that in any disrespect to Coach Hopkins or Coach GMAC. I think it's time to reboot.
You have any name in particular?
No, I'm not really aware of all the different strategies that the school is employing to pick the next coach. I have no inside information on that, but a lot of people keep saying GMAC, and the guy has more heart than any player I've ever seen on SU, but this is putting a lot of pressure on a guy who is new to coaching.
He did have 20 wins this season at Siena, which is their best finish in a long time. But I do agree with you. I want to go back to the thing you were talking about with the runs, and I think that was especially prevalent here in the second half because Syracuse was in this game, and then it just felt like it just fell apart. And for you, is that a Red thing or is that a player's thing?
I think it has something to do with the opponent as well. You know, when you're fishing and you get a bite, you get a nibble, and then you kind of let the fish kind of nibble a little bit more, see if they bite. That's kind of what teams are doing to SU right now. They're trying to engage our heart because you got to understand there are some mean people on other teams, and it pleases some people nothing more than to rip out someone's heart. And, I pray to God that never happens to us. Johnny Flynn once said that. The worst thing that can happen to a basketball player is when their heart gets taken from them. So I pray for our guys, honestly, guys.
Well, Michael, I appreciate the call as always. And, I mean, Ben, he brought up a really interesting point here with Syracuse not being able to capitalize on the runs because it's happened a few times now. It happened against Duke when they were playing down there in Durham where, you claw back into the game, you're right there, and then, it just kind of all falls apart. It happened with Virginia. It happened against North Carolina on the road when they cut into that huge 30-point lead. But I think that's just been an overarching theme. It's too little, too late.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. The way and the easiest way to capitalize on runs and keep runs going in a game is when your offensive game plan has figured out their defensive game plan.
I don't think that's happened at all.
Because there is no offensive game plan. That's why it hasn't happened. There is no offensive game plan. Hero ball can't figure out defenses the way a playbook and drawing up plays can, man.
I think it was really funny when you and I were watching the game in that first half, and you would see Louisville's offense just so dynamic. And then they would find the open man in the corner for the 3 splash.
Oh, you mean
Syracuse,
an ACC offense? Yeah.
Syracuse would come down on the other side, do a couple of passes, and then, okay, let's try and set up a screen and just chuck up a 3. And that's the entire offensive possession. That was it.
I don't even want to call it a pick and roll offense because they don't even look like they're running plays off the pick and roll. They just raise the fist up, a pick and roll comes, and they just go, let's see what happens. Dude, that's not winning basketball. It's unbelievable. I mean, we just talked about why that they can't capitalize on runs. It's precisely that. Hero ball, hot hands are only going to last for so long in a game, right? They're only going to last a few minutes and then they go away. That's exactly why Syracuse.
You've even seen that. Donnie Freeman dropped 28 against Wake Forest. That's not winning you the game.
No, of course
it doesn't matter at all.
Because if everyone's hot, then absolutely, yeah, this team could beat a whole bunch of teams. But that's never going to happen in basketball. That's the way the sport goes.
No, it's a game of runs, and Syracuse has not capitalized on their runs at all. And Syracuse's largest run of the game was a 9-0 run in the second half, and you and I were watching that. Oh, hey, watch out. They're right back in the game, and there was 15 minutes on the clock. It was 50-32 Louisville. You skip 10 minutes down, and guess what? Syracuse is actually right back in the game. They're right there. They're knocking on the doorstep. It's 62-51. You're only down by 11.
Yeah.
And they had a couple of back-to-back jams, and you're thinking, oh, look at Will Kyle. He's dominating the paint right now. He's getting in there.
Dunks. Yeah, exactly.
He looked great. And then what does Louisville do to you after J.J. Starling goes up for the contested lay? Back-to-back triples. And in between that, Syracuse goes to the other end and just chucks up a 3, and that's the ball game.
I was just about to bring that up. It was 66-65, right? Where there was 4 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
And Louisville. This is the dagger to me.
Yeah.
To me in this
Please,
game. McNeely from the corner.
That was
drills a 3. And look, that's a heartbreaker. Syracuse. Hey, you can go back on the other end and get them right back. They don't. They miss a shot of their own. And then right on the other end, Conwell comes over and drills another 3. And everyone in that stadium, Louisville and Syracuse fans alike, Louisville players and Syracuse players alike, knew in that moment this one's done. Louisville fans and players knew they won the game. Syracuse fans and players knew they lost the game in that very moment. 4 minutes left, those 2
I'll
threes.
be honest with you. I knew Syracuse lost the game at the 10-minute mark in the first half.
Yeah, but that's because we know the team, though. Right? You got to – the people in that stadium, maybe they're not so familiar with this Orange team that really struggles to, win basketball games. You know, we're familiar and used to that team now. There's people out there that can watch a game and say, 11 points, 4 minutes left. A solid ACC basketball team, many of them should be able to come back, right? Yeah, not Syracuse, though.
Never.
That's the difference.
Never. And it just has been so frustrating to watch this season as time dwindles along. And looking at the ESPN broadcast, too, they flashed an interesting graphic during the game, and that it was the ACC, and it was which teams were going to make the NCAA tournament and which were just going to be kind of in the pile of, you're just sitting there, nothing's happening, you're not making the tournament. And you saw teams like Cal and Virginia Tech on the bubble, and I'm thinking in my head, Syracuse should be right there with them. Louisville's not ranked right now. They're projected to be in March Madness. That's a Louisville team with 20 wins. Syracuse is only 5 away from that. And you just go back to some of those early season losses, and you really go back and think what this team could have been. Call in and let us know what you're thinking about this Syracuse loss. Louisville taking down the Cuse 77-62 at the Yum Center. Dan Shalom with you alongside Ben Chadwick here on the Double Overtime. We have you until 1 a.m., another hour and 10 minutes. And we're going to keep chugging along here on the Double Overtime. But, to go back to what I was saying, Ben,
Please, yeah.
Why isn't Syracuse right there with Cal and Virginia Tech? Those are not basketball schools. Those are never basketball schools,
I'm
really.
Well aware.
at all.
And Syracuse beat Cal, right? We watched that game. We listened to that
Yes.
game in double overtime. That was an unbelievable game. Power goes out in the dome. We don't have to break that one down. We already did it on double overtime a few weeks ago. But, dude, you can go game by game. There are plenty of games that Syracuse
So
could
many
have
chances.
easily won. You faced a top 4 team in Houston all the way back in November. If you shoot over 60% from the free throw line, you have a win over
Will
Houston.
Kyle literally makes one extra free throw.
You have a win over Houston. You go to overtime because you can't hit a single shot from the charity stripe, and then you lose in overtime to Houston. That is a textbook. That is a program-defining win for Syracuse, a season-defining win, I should say, for the Orange right there. And then you go on to lose to Kansas and Iowa State. Those games were always out of your grasp. They beat Tennessee. That was a great win. And
Great
then
win.
just 11 days later, you lose to Hofstra. The inconsistency with this team is unbelievable.
And
really,
the sad part was that the Hofstra loss axed out the Tennessee win, which was just brutal.
It immediately axed that win out. And this team has the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows. And I would argue the lowest of all the lows this season was an overtime loss to Boston College. Boston College is
Without
quite
a
a bit
doubt.
worse, I would say, so far this season than Hofstra is. And I know,
Without
Power
a
5
doubt.
compared to a Hofstra team.
Boston College is abysmal.
An embarrassing loss for the Orange. And that sparked a 4-game losing streak, their first of 2 4-game losing streaks because they're riding one right now.
I think going back to what you were talking about and being so close and having so many chances, if we just take a step back into the past, Syracuse basketball on January 13th, 3 games in a row in the ACC. You beat Georgia Tech, Pitt, Florida State. The next 3 opponents on the calendar, Boston College, Virginia Tech, and Miami.
Yep.
Now a ranked Miami team, but at the time not a ranked Miami team. You lose in overtime to Boston College. Again, hit a free throw there. You win that game.
All it takes.
4 games in a row. Virginia Tech, you lose by 2 points at home. Again, couple of shots go your way. 5 games in a row. Miami, that one just got away from you. But still, then now you're at 17 wins. You have the win over Virginia Tech. You beat Cal. You're in the conversation where if you win 2 ACC tournament games, you could be in the tournament. It's that close.
Yep.
That's the most frustrating part about all of this. It's razor-thin margins.
Because, this game, if you asked anyone, let's say a month ago about this Louisville game, I think everyone would have told you, hey, Louisville's a better team. Even if they are without their star player, Louisville is the better team, and Syracuse will lose that game. This game that just happened today is not the shocker and is not the heartbreaker. It is everything that built up to this game and to watching this team go down by 18 points in the first half. And it just reminds you, it's a reminder of, this is the same team that lost to Hofstra, guys. This is the same team that lost to Boston College. So this shouldn't come as a shocker that they are trailing by 18 points to Louisville. That's how it all connects back to this game that we just listened to.
And another upsetting part about it, too, is that part of the schedule I just detailed was supposed to be your easy part of the schedule. You're supposed to dominate that
Boston
part
College
of the schedule.
should have been a 15-plus point win.
I'm not sure how it wasn't, to be honest with you. Boston College is literally the worst team in all of Power 4 basketball.
They shot 64% from the free throw line, which I'll admit is 20% better than they did against Houston earlier on in the year. It's unacceptable.
It's unacceptable all around. We can keep talking about the past, but we need to talk about the present. We need to talk about tonight's game, and that's why on the other side of this break here on the Double Overtime, our reporter, our play-by-play man from tonight, Gino Antamarino, will join us live from the KFC Yum Center to give us all the insight from Louisville. Coming up on the other side here on the Double Overtime.
This is Dave Pash, SU class of 1994, and you're listening to the future broadcasters of tomorrow today on 88.3 FM, WAER Syracuse, your local NPR station from the Newhouse School at Syracuse University.
Recent federal funding cuts have hit WAER hard. How can your small business help? A WAER Bridge the Gap sponsorship lets you reach your ideal audience in a powerful, purposeful way. It's a different kind of sponsorship, affordable, impactful, and rooted in community. Be heard while supporting WAER's mission, public service through thoughtful content and local connection. Ready to stand with WAER? Learn more at waer.org/sponsorship.
there is a one-stop listen for everything Syracuse athletics.
Syracuse men's lacrosse had arguably maybe Gary Gates' best weekend ever as head coach.
The Ostrom Avenue podcast provides unique opinions plus exciting interviews from industry experts.
The voice of Syracuse men's lacrosse and Syracuse women's basketball as well. Tim Leonard, Javon Edmonds of Syracuse.com.
Check out weekly episodes and listen at waer.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for listening. We hope you're enjoying this WAER sports broadcast. Our sports staff goes where the teams go, home and away, and prepare for days before each game broadcast. Our talk show and podcast hosts analyze games, pour over stats, and keep up on sports trends. These and many behind-the-scenes opportunities are made possible by listener donations. So if you're a fan or an alum, donate to keep our sports legacy strong at WAER.org and click donate.
For 22 from downtown for Louisville. Syracuse 0 for 12. Kings trying to change that, and he does. Kings from the near arc strokes a triple.
Boy, what a call right there for one of the whopping 4 Syracuse three-pointers tonight against Louisville. Welcome back into our Ostrom Avenue studios, recapping the 77-62 loss that Syracuse men's basketball suffered at the KFC Yum Center against the Louisville Cardinals. He's Dan Shalom. I'm Ben Shattuck. We are lucky to be welcoming in one of our play-by-play announcers who you just heard on the air right there, Gino Antamarino from the KFC Yum Center. Gino, how you doing?
Gentlemen, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
Wait, Gino, so I just have to clarify quickly. What did they kick you out of the Yum Center? Are you not actually in there anymore? What happened to you?
Well, the reason you heard me, I was saying thank you to my good partner, Hudson Ridley, who was actually holding the door for me on the way out of the KFC Yum Center. So that is why, it was just second nature for me to just thank someone for doing something nice for me. I was raised by great parents,
Oh, I know you
Of course. And out of pure curiosity, is KFC on the list for dinner tonight?
Oh my gosh, no. We
wait. Is it going to be KFC, Taco Bell, or what's the last one? Pizza Hut?
And Pizza Hut. I mean, you talk about what is wrong with the United States of America. Well, there you go. There's the big three right there. I mean, geez, that's something.
Personally, I'm a Taco Bell guy, but
I gotta go with Dan there, but to each their own, like you said. Once again, you're listening to WAER Syracuse as the double overtime, breaking down Louisville's 77-62 win over Syracuse. Now, Gino, there was a pretty fun moment, I think, towards the end of that game where your co-play-by-play man Hudson Ridley brought up the struggle is relative sort of aspect. So I'm very curious, before we get into what Coach Autry had to say in that presser, which I'm sure was a really fun one to be at, of course, just like the Wake Forest one we all know was quite fun to be at. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on, hey, yeah, Louisville is struggling because of this, and meanwhile there's Syracuse who's struggling in a much different way.
Yeah, I mean, in my overall thoughts on the game, I don't know how in depth. I know you guys, are phenomenal at what you do. So I'm sure you guys are going to hit on a lot of the points that I'm going to bring up already. I didn't have the luxury of listening in just because the presser ran a little bit long from Autry and players. But I thought overall the game was an improvement from last weekend's game, or I guess Saturday's game against Wake Forest. I mean, the Orange did win the second half. They did outscore Louisville. And, yeah, I mean, you could argue that Louisville took their foot off the gas in that second half a little bit just because they were up by so many. But at the end of the day, this was a Syracuse team that's not quitting, and I think you got to give them a lot of credit for that, and you got to give the coaching staff some credit for that as well. I mean, listen, Adrian Autry knows where his fate lies, and I think it's no secret that the team knows as well that it's going to win, maybe a game in the ACC tournament. But the fact that this team's still going out there and competing, and especially competing in a second half that they pretty much know is gone. Like, they're not winning this game. But the fact that they go out there and, they win that second half, and some guys looked pretty good out there. Sadiq White playing through an injury. I think that speaks a lot for the team. I mean, what do you guys think?
I mean, I think it would matter a lot more if they came out with that same energy in the first half, and that's where I want to kind of go with you here now. what did Autry have to say about the flat start? Because it really did seem like they were playing on the same level as Louisville in the second half when they were matching the energy, but it just wasn't there in the first half.
Yeah, those Syracuse had 4 blocks in the first few minutes of this game. I mean, William Kyle looked fantastic.
Yeah.
Kings had a block as well. But, yeah, Audrey said exactly what you said, Dan. It was a game that they didn't play a full 40 minutes. And what's new with this team? You know, this is a team that's got a lot of talent, which just seems to put it together when it's too little, too late. And, hold on, there's what kind of car is that? That is like a souped-up Dodge. It just almost hit me.
Whoa.
Just a highlight of the
Let's
night.
just be clear here. The last thing we want to have happen on the double overtime is for you to get hit by a car.
I would concur.
Safety first, cross the road, and then...
I'm crossed. We're good.
Okay. So keep it going.
Okay. And this is probably a first in WAER double overtime history, right?
If you got hit, it would have been a
Colin
first,
is
yes, correct.
walking back, but anyways, yeah. So Autry, he came out and he was pretty dejected, and in the game against Wake Forest, he came out and he was pretty mad, and that was probably the most angry I've seen from him, and it was almost a call out to his players, like, listen, I'm the one taking all the blame, and I'm not even the one that can go out there and lace up my shoes and go put points on the board. Like, at the end of the day, you got to hold the players accountable. And to be honest with you, I think Autry has a lot to be blamed for with this season, right? I mean, there's a lot of talent on this team. This team should be a lot better than they are. But at the end of the day, it's not like Adrian Autry is going out there on the floor every game and contributing to a losing record. I mean, there's only so much a coach can do, and I really do think that. But there's something missing between his message or what he's saying his message is every single game in the presser about, after every single game in the presser, talking about, we're not playing a full 40 minutes, we're not playing tough, we're not right. It's the same message. So where is the cutoff in communication between him and his players, because they're not getting it or he's not connecting with them to get it. And I think that's been the biggest issue so far this season.
And Gino, you brought up how Autry was bringing up kind of new things in this press conference. That's been a trend with these last 2 games as well, right? If we look back at press conferences from Coach Autry a few weeks ago in a loss to North Carolina or a loss to ranked Virginia, right? He's talking about fight and how this team still has it in them and things of that nature. But for these last 2 press conferences, I know you've been to both of them. What sort of seems different about the way that he's approaching the media and the way he's approaching talking about this team now that everyone kind of is pretty much confirmed to know what this team's future holds?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything really left for him to say. He even flat out said today, like, you guys don't care what I have to say. You guys care about results. And he's exactly right. I mean, obviously we, as members of the media and as journalists covering this team game in and game out, even on the off days, we care about what's going on in the locker room and what's being said after and before the games and whatnot. And, so there's that part of it. But to the Syracuse fan that just wants to see good basketball, I mean, who really cares what he has to go out and say? They just want a win in the column, right, in the right column. And unfortunately, it's been in the wrong column so far for Syracuse. And, I have to say, like, going back to what I was saying earlier, this is a team that hasn't given up. And time again, I want to hear what you guys think. I think that there have been so many games this season where I put my finger down, I go, okay, this is where Syracuse is going to stop. This is where Syracuse is going to say, I don't care anymore. Let's go back. The losses to Virginia Tech and Miami, you were kind of thinking to yourself, right? You lose to Hofstra. That came before, obviously, the Miami-Virginia Tech game. You're thinking, okay, this team's going to start to fall off a little bit. Getting smoked out by Duke. Okay, maybe this is it. Losing to North Carolina, right? And this is a team that, yes, the margin of loss is still pretty significant. And even in today's game, losing by double digits. But they're still competing and fighting in these games. I mean, it's not like they're just going out there and just saying whatever. So I think that's pretty commendable. I mean, what do you guys think?
I get where you're coming from there, but it's not.
They're Division I basketball players that are getting paid to play at Syracuse University.
Syracuse
it's not commendable.
Basketball. if you told anybody 10 years ago that this would be the standard for Syracuse basketball now.
The standard is try, participate. Hey, man, here's $500,000. Can you just try for the entire season?
Just try,
we'll be cool
and
with that.
you'll lose in the first round of the ACC tournament. That's okay. Pat on the back for that. I personally.
Yeah, listen, you guys are absolutely right. Dan, keep going. I don't want to cut you
No.
off.
I can't get behind that. I understand that they're still trying. They're still putting in effort. It's not like
What are they
they're
supposed to
going in
do?
there and waving the white flag at halftime. But I don't know what else. Like, there's nothing else for them to do. Like, they're just a bad basketball team.
Gino, the other thing, too, with these players is either they're playing to make this team look better for next year and really try and make this entire program better for next year, or, Gino, they're playing. Yeah, but they could also be playing to make.
On this Syracuse team, who the heck cares what this Syracuse program looks like next year? If I'm whoever, and I'm like, you know what, to heck with Syracuse, this team is terrible, and I want to go somewhere else. Why do you care what you leave this program?
Because you still need to transfer.
Because you need to transfer.
You need those stats.
You need to impress other coaches. Who's to say that they're not really trying their best right now?
You can go out and get yours without, getting making the team look good. You can go out there and just stat pad and
do you
not
think the
care
team looks
about
good
what
right
the
now?
team's results are.
Does the team look good right now? We've had callers call in before. This team plays hero ball.
It's all hero ball. That's all this team does.
It's hero ball, and sure, it made it a sort of close game at the end of this one.
It's just let's grab a screen, let's chuck a three, or let's try and just dive to the hoop and put up a layup and hope it doesn't go in. Louisville's going to come down.
I feel like we're double teaming Gino in the corner right now. This is incredible.
That's okay. He can
No.
he can handle it. He's far away.
When I'm nobody puts Gino in a corner. Okay. I
Talking in the
fight
third
my
person.
way
Here we
out,
go.
just like I'm quick. I'm nimble. You saw or you heard me dodge that dodge that almost ran me over. I mean, I'm elusive.
I know. Hey, you have done that tonight, so let's see you find your way out of this one.
No, I mean, I hear what you guys are saying, and I think you guys are absolutely spot on. These are not college athletes anymore. These are not amateurs. These are pretty much professional athletes that are getting paid to play the sport, and I totally get that. But at the end of the day, these are 21, 22-year-old guys that, listen, I mean, I never played anywhere close to this level of sports, but I can assure you, for anyone that has played on a losing team at any capacity, at certain points you just go, I don't really care anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't care. You're getting paid 6 figures to play basketball in college, out of all places.
No, I agree. I agree with you. But, I mean, Dan, you're telling me that if you come here to Louisville, Kentucky, and you're going out there and you're getting dog walked, you're telling me you're still going out there and your mindset is, okay, let's keep playing hard. Let's do it.
Because
And
if you're a member of that team and
oh
you
my gosh,
actually
what the
think
heck am
that
I doing?
if you actually are a member of that team and you think that you can win, like Syracuse right now theoretically could go out there and win the ACC tournament if they really wanted to. They could go out there and do it.
If they really wanted,
yeah, we got to take it easy with that.
Like, if you want to make that argument at me.
And love for the game. You think this team's beating Duke?
No, not
you think
one
this team's
bit.
Beating North Carolina? You think this team's beating any of the top teams in the ACC? They haven't. Look at the record.
Well, it just goes back to what you were saying. Why should they care? They should care because there's still a chance for them to make the tournament.
What'd you say there, Dan?
I said, you asked me why they should care. There's still a chance they can make the tournament. That's why they should care.
Small chance.
Now, Gino, one thing I did want to ask you about. You were at Wake Forest, Louisville, J.J. Starling, back-to-back games,
Please.
2 points, or 4 points, or 50 minutes of play. Did he talk at all after the game? What's been the feeling? What's going on there?
Still got us, Gino?
We may have lost Gino for the moment. And
so for the moment, sure. Let's keep it going.
What has happened to J.J. Starling? It's a great question.
We talked about it earlier too, and I know we had a caller talk about him a little bit as well.
But
Gino
brings up a good point. Why should J.J. Starling care at this point?
I think there's one small thing I will agree with Gino on, although overarching I do disagree with him, and I'm with you on it. Is that I understand. Am I an athlete myself? Absolutely not. But I have been on this is the second time I'm mentioning my middle school basketball team.
Dude, you were a stud. Okay.
On this double overtime.
How many points were you averaging?
No.
Double?
This is the exact thing. I was on a middle school basketball team that went. I played there from 5th grade to 8th grade, and we went 4-68, I believe.
Wow.
As our entire record.
That is putrid.
So I do understand the argument that losing that much, I would walk into games.
But you were not getting paid $500,000.
That's exactly the thing. I was not getting paid 6 figures to go out there and play. If I'm raking in $100,000 to go from Monroe Township, New Jersey, to Camden and play against kids that are maybe a foot taller than me and get dunked on, I'm still going to try my hardest because I got a huge bank account coming my way because of how I play in that game. That is the difference. These guys are getting paid, man.
And they're not just getting paid to get on a bus to go from Township to Camden. They are going to Louisville on a private jet and then coming back very comfortably and staying in a hotel and the whole shebang. So he makes a really good point, though. And a guy like J.J. Starling, he's not coming back to the team next year. He's probably going to have to go play pro ball overseas or try and go the G League route. I mean, for him, you're right. You brought it up earlier. He has somehow declined.
Man, with the way he's going, too, not that we're really going to get into the future here, he's losing that chance of pro ball, overseas, G League, wherever it might be, with the way he's playing right now. I mean, 4 points in 52 minutes of college basketball is not getting you many things in the future after college hoops. It is unbelievable because I've always been a big proponent of J.J. Starling does what he's needed to do. Right? When Donnie Freeman was out on the court last year, Donnie was the best basketball player and the best offensive player on the court. J.J. Starling easily slotted into that number 2 role. Everything was perfectly fine. This year, Donnie Freeman is still the best offensive player. Oh, no, excuse me. But when Donnie was out, J.J. slotted into that number 1 role. That's what I meant to say. This year, Donnie is that number 1 guy, but then J.J. can be the number 2, except he hasn't been. Except he's slowly regressing down behind Nate Kings and behind 2 to 3 other players, I would say, in terms of scoring options and the output he's actually putting out on the court right now.
It's hard to watch, and it's not like Syracuse has been getting very much support either from the bench as of right now, and that's really a spot we haven't touched on too much yet. Sadiq White was the only guy to come off the bench and have more than 4 points today. He had 8, and then you look down the line, Bryce Zephyr was in the ball game for a large majority of the game, which was kind of random. And Kyan Anthony was the only other guy off the bench who had points. He had 4. So Sadiq White, Tyler Betsy, Kyan Anthony, Ibrahim Saware, and Bryce Zephyr came into the game, and they combined for 12 points. It's not like anyone's coming to help out J.J. Starling or pick him up if he has a bad game either. There's nothing there.
Look, JJ's regressing, and to go on the complete other side of it, JJ is in his senior year, right? He's done with Syracuse basketball after this. A guy who could also be done with Syracuse basketball, but is nowhere near his senior year, is Kyan, who, he had 4 points, whoop-de-doo. He shot 1 for 6 from the field, man. This is a guy who, yes, it is his freshman year. I understand that.
His future is a very interesting
There's a lot of weight on his shoulders when he came into the season, but we're 30 games in now, right? This is 30 games into the season, and we have not seen much of anything. Look, at the very, very start of the season, don't get me wrong, when it came to Binghamton and Delaware State and Drexel, Kyan Anthony looked like the best player on planet Earth.
Mind you, he did actually get to start in those games.
I know.
And he had a solidified role. And that was when JJ was kind of, not fully in the lineup just yet, and things were getting toyed around a little bit.
He got hurt. He was hurt. So
he got hurt, and then, Kyan got to step in there, and he looked really good when he had a role on this team that was constant. But when you're just either, bringing him off the bench or just randomly sitting him when you play Virginia or other games, putting him in clutch situations down the stretch, it's not like this coaching staff has really set him up for that much success either. And they've put him in weird situations.
It brings up the argument, and one that I don't agree with, but it brings up the argument of, with a season that is so far gone like this one, do you start to look at the aspects of, let's get Kyan in there starting in that constant role to
if
see
you're
what he
gonna,
does with it?
The problem is you can't, because it's not like Autry is confirmed to come back next year. It's not like this coaching staff can start just going into that rebuilding phase because they don't even know themselves if they're going to be here next year. It's just like when you have a losing team in baseball and you're, 25 games under 500 in August, and then you call everyone up from AAA and you just let your guys play. I mean, just not the case for Syracuse because there is just so many question marks across the board.
So many question marks, and hopefully we could ask you a couple more questions to Gino, who's still in Louisville and hopefully back with us. Gino, we got you?
I think we're good. I think we're good.
Gino, I just want to establish here that you said that you were going to escape out of the corner and then you just left. So I think that was your way of just escaping the situation.
I think you wussied out, man.
I was thinking that too. I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to think they won this debate.
Oh, we know it.
I want to go back to what I was about to ask you before we lost you for a second. You've been at Wake Forest, you've been at Louisville. J.J. Starling, 4 points overall in both of those games with 50 minutes. Did he talk after the game? What's been going on with him? Any general conversation around his play?
No, I mean, J.J. Starling doesn't talk after any game, to be honest with you. Maybe a few. I can't remember the last time he's spoken after a game, maybe a home game.
Did anyone talk about? Did Autry talk about him? Anyone say anything?
Yeah, I mean, there were two mentions of Starling from last game and this game. The first was from Nate George after today's game. He said that the leaders on this team haven't given up, and they've been very vocal about trying to make like a big Cinderella type run in this ACC tournament. So, I mean, it sounds like
that seems like wishful thinking.
Autry said that they're frustrated, but it sounds like that this is a team that, the leaders are still trying to will the team to some sort of successful season, I guess you can say, or something that they can look back on with fond memories. And then after the Wake Forest game, it was brought up about Starling, and Autry was very quick to shut it down and say, "Listen, Starling, that wasn't the issue in today's game, and by today I mean Wake Forest." He said Starling did what he needed to do, and that was he got downhill, he got to the cup, and he kicked out for our shooters. He had 5 assists against Wake Forest, and this was a Syracuse team that was knocking down 10 of 18 from beyond the arc in just that first half alone. So. I mean, and Autry said you don't have to get on the score sheet to make a difference. And yes, I mean, obviously you would like Starling to, as one of the leaders on this team, do something on the score sheet in terms of scoring points. But, I guess if it's not your day, you got to find other ways to get involved. And I think Starling, he got those first 2 points right off the bat in today's game against Louisville. But, I mean, you guys are right. I mean, it's just one of those things where, we can talk about it till we're blue in the face. Starling's got to get better, but there's always a bright side to kind of look at. I know nobody really cares about that.
How about that? The 3-point shooting is an interesting angle that we haven't brought up yet. And the way that I was watching today, it just seemed like Syracuse's 3-point offense from Wake Forest just completely disappeared because you mentioned it. They were on fire against the Demon Deacons. And then all of that just disappeared today in the first half. And I was wondering, just sitting there, what happened? It just didn't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah, I mean, I also want to hear what you guys saw as well, but, I thought Syracuse shot 4 for 19. They didn't hit a single three in that first half today. And, the biggest thing that I've noticed, and it goes back towards the start of the season, and I think is one of the biggest reasons why this team, quote unquote, doesn't play a full 40 minutes, is because they don't change their game plans. They attack every game the same way. They attack every half the same way. And in college basketball, you can't do that. I mean, Rick Pitino is one of the best college coaches ever, and he's very outspoken about, at the college level, you have to strategize. It's purely strategy based. In the NBA, when you're coaching, it's more of just managing talents and managing rosters. But in college, it's using your talents on your team and building that off of strategy and off of game plan. And Syracuse it's very hot and cold. Sometimes when the strategy works, they're a really good team. And other times it doesn't work and they're just dead in the water. And there's no sort of adjustments that are made. And that part, that falls on Adrian Autry. But at the end of the day, Syracuse has to go out there and knock down the shots. Take for example, the Wake Forest game. I mean, Syracuse went out, we talked about it in the first half, 10 of 18 from 3 in the first half. Yep. Second half, 3 of 8. Just a huge drop off. And, the head coach for Wake Forest said what we did was we just game planned. We didn't allow J.J. Starling to go downhill and get close around the basket and kick out to the shooters. We did a better job at closing out on those shooters. So you have other teams that are game planning and changing the way they attack Syracuse, and the Orange don't really game plan it and change off of the way the game is going or is about to go.
And Gino, out of pure curiosity, I've noticed that you've gotten a little bit calmer and quieter. Have we entered a hotel lobby or hotel room?
Yeah, where are
of
you
some
right now? I
sorts?
want to know where you're at.
I'm actually in the. I'm actually waiting on my Kentucky Fried Chicken. No, I'm
Are
just
you
kidding. I'm
serious?
back in
Oh, my
my
goodness.
hotel room.
Okay, all right. We're just making sure. But I am curious.
Oh, also, by the way, Gino, may I mention that Louisville waterfront, quite picturesque, if you ask me. I hope you've explored it.
Dan was just there. Dan was just there.
Oh, funny enough, we got stopped by probably 3 different people. We're the only radio crew in the country, probably, at the college level and at the professional level, that wear suits to call games. And
Only,
so we kinda stick out
I've
like
talked
sore
about this
thumbs.
at
So the
length with
amount of
multiple people.
What were you saying, Dan?
I was saying 100%. We're the only people that do it.
Only the best, man. WAER.
Yeah, we're the best dressed. But I probably got stopped by 4 people, and they're like, you called the lacrosse game not too long ago, and I was just like, well, I'm flattered that you think I'm as handsome as Dan Shalom, but
wow.
That's not true.
Similar hair, I would say.
Gino, I really appreciate that from you, but I don't think I could ever match your looks. Let's just put that on the record.
That is not true, Dan, and you know it.
Well, Gino, before we let you go, to actually get it back to the game for just a little bit here, I would love to
I
talk
do have
about
a couple more fun ones for you before we leave. Don't worry.
Don't get me wrong. I would love to talk about Gino Antamarino and Dan Shalom's looks for the rest of this double overtime. But unfortunately, our producers are in our ear. They're saying, hey, guys, let's talk about basketball a little bit. I understand. I am curious because we have 8 total assists for the Orange tonight. Dan talked about the three-point shooting. The assist could have something to do with that. Single-digit assists. We had a caller call in earlier saying that that's unacceptable. Did Coach Autry say anything about that after the presser? If not, what did you see on the floor from this team and why they just did not move the ball enough to create shots and quick shots after the pass?
Yeah, I mean, there was nothing that was talked about after the game in terms of the assists. I think that this is an offense, like you guys touched on. It's very one-dimensional. It's very run and gun. One person kind of takes over and everyone kind of clears the tracks. And when you have that style of basketball, of course, it's going to develop into a solo brand of basketball, and you're not going to get a lot of assists through that. I will say, I mean, Louisville moved the ball tremendously today. I thought that they were I'm trying to look for the assist numbers here. I don't know if you guys have it pulled up already. But let's see, 17 assists today. 17 assists today for Louisville. Syracuse with just 8. But, I mean, the Cardinals really worked the ball around. And one of the things I noticed was they would just form a triangle. They'd bring a big man up to about the elbow, and they'd have 2 guards stand on the perimeter of the arc, and they would just work the ball into a triangle, and they would either with the guy at the elbow quarterbacking pretty much, instead of having a guard kind of orchestrate the offense, it was the guy that was closest to the paint that would kind of kick out in the corner or turn his back and penetrate towards the hoop, or he'd kick it back out to the guard. And that really fooled Syracuse. And having those off-ball screens, the Orange defense, especially towards the end of that first half, just looked completely out of sorts. They were getting lost in the sauce, you could say. And, I mean, that's what happens when you have good ball movement. I mean, you just kind of get lost in guys moving with and without the ball, and the Orange looked flat-footed, and that was a big reason why they were down so big. But I wanted to also, I don't know if you guys are going to touch on this, but I want to touch on Sadiq White. I think this is a guy.
Yes.
You talked about the ball movement, and regardless of the ball movement for him, I think he's probably been their best, most consistent. I don't want to say that because Kings has been good too recently.
Kings has been the best player on the team.
He's been good all season, but he's been kind of up. He's had his games where he's kind of just fallen by the wayside. And same with Donnie Freeman. But I think Sadiq White over these last 3 games, even Autry said over the last 3 games, he's been incredible. And I know Autry's been his biggest cheerleader all season, talking about how much he loves his energy. But I thought Sadiq had another great game today. I mean, I think 12 points in 12 minutes last time out against Wake Forest. And, I mean, he was knocking down threes. He looked great. And then today, let me check let me check the numbers. 4 for 6 from the field, and I just thought he looked really good. I thought he looked really good out there. 8 total points, but again, he was also playing through that shoulder injury that he got in the first half. He played through it, and I mean that's just hard, and you gotta love it. And this is a freshman that's, you know, a former 5-star, and he's going out there on a team that has no future at all in making something successful. I know this kind of goes back to a previous topic, and I don't mean to be long-winded here. I want to hear what you guys have to say about him, but you know, for him to go out there and to just lay it all out there every single game, and I know he's trying to help his stock for next season, but I mean, this is a guy that could easily just kind of tap out and be like, listen, I've proven myself. Like, I've got the energy, I've got the bounce, like I've got the athleticism. People can see that potential in me, regardless of what my stats are. And he's still going out there and he's performing really well. I think he's been easily my favorite player to watch over this last stretch.
Yeah, well, Gino, to me, Sadiq, he came into the Orange as a highly rated 4-star recruit, right? Everyone was very hyped up about him, and he didn't really know his role early on. He was an athletic freak, but didn't really know where to put him, and Coach Autry struggled to know where to put him. I think you're right. As of recently, he has really filled that role that he has needed on this team as one of the top forwards off the bench, and sometimes even starting in games like we've seen in the past few weeks. So I couldn't agree more. I think in terms of taking steps up, Sadiq has done that.
I would
the
also
most of
say,
anyone.
Gino, and I don't know how you feel about this, if I could pick one player to bring back from Syracuse right now for next year, I would pick Sadiq. I wouldn't even hesitate on it. I would bring back Sadiq 100%.
I totally agree. I think of the players, I think if Carmelo Anthony has a hand in who's going to be, you know, if they decide on parting ways with Adrian Autry, which kind of feels inevitable at this point, and if Carmelo Anthony has a huge hand in who's going to be the next head coach, I don't see Kyan Anthony leaving. And to be honest with you, I don't think he's made a claim to really, you know, make the jump anywhere else, to be honest with you. I mean, another kind of putrid game for him, 1 for 6 from the field, 4 total points. 2 of those came from the free throw line. I could see him coming back, and I can honestly see Sadiq White staying, which, you know, 2 young players, and you just try it, you know, whoever the coach is next year, you just kind of hope that you bank on the transfer portal. And, I mean, that's what Louisville did, right? You bring in
Kelsey did it.
Coach Kelsey, and he's been fantastic at recruiting and bringing guys in, and they've worked really well for him.
Yeah, if you're a Syracuse fan, you're really hoping that those 2 guys stay. And Gino, we're hoping that for the rest of tonight you stay inside and away from the roads and safe in your
Maybe
hotel
get
room.
yourself some Taco Bell or KFC
Get it
or
delivered, man.
Pizza Hut.
Get it delivered. Don't walk on those
or
sidewalks
some
anymore.
bourbon too. I heard that's a good commodity down there in Louisville.
Oh, guys, it's been I won't get too much into the specifics, but I've had a blast. We went to Churchill Downs. We did the Louisville Slugger. We've dabbled, we've dabbled in everything that Louisville's had to offer. So can't complain. This is definitely one of my favorite places to go so far that I've been to.
All right, absolutely. That was Gino Antamarino, who called the game and gave us his gracious time. And even though me and Dan kind of doubled up on him in a couple topics, you were fantastic. So thank you so much, Gino. All right. So Gino did mention Churchill Downs at the end there. We got a little bit of a Kentucky Derby themed game coming up. We've got a break right now, but stay tuned for that. It's the double overtime with Dan Shalom and Ben Chadwick. We'll be right back.
There is a one-stop listen for everything Syracuse athletics.
Syracuse men's lacrosse had arguably maybe Gary Gates' best weekend ever as head coach.
The Ostrom Avenue podcast provides unique opinions plus exciting interviews from industry experts.
The voice of Syracuse men's lacrosse and Syracuse women's basketball as well. Tim Leonard, Javon Edmonds of Syracuse.com.
Check out weekly episodes and listen at WAER.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for listening. We hope you're enjoying this WAER sports broadcast. Our sports staff goes where the teams go, home and away, and prepare for days before each game broadcast. Our talk show and podcast hosts analyze games, pour over stats, and keep up on sports trends. These and many behind-the-scenes opportunities are made possible by listener donations. So if you're a fan or an alum, donate to keep our sports legacy strong at WAER.org and click donate. Thanks for listening. We hope you're enjoying this WAER sports broadcast. Our sports staff goes where the teams go, home and away, and prepare for days before each game broadcast. Our talk show and podcast hosts analyze games, pour over stats, and keep up on sports trends. These and many behind-the-scenes opportunities are made possible by listener donations. So if you're a fan or an alum, donate to keep our sports legacy strong at WAER.org and click donate.
Welcome back to the double overtime, or should I say Churchill Downs, maybe?
In upstate
I guess
New York?
Saratoga Springs is closer. That'll be our track today. Closest to Syracuse. Dan Child with you alongside Ben Chadwick, talking Syracuse's 77-62 loss to Louisville. And obviously the game was in Louisville tonight, so only fitting we do a little bit of Kentucky Ostrom Avenue Derby, if you will. So then we're going to go with 3 different horses here, and we're going to compare them to Syracuse men's basketball. So, first up, Secretariat, legendary horse, Triple Crown winner, the guy who lived up to your expectations this season. And remember, considered the most dominant horse in all of horse racing history.
Right. I don't specifically think that this basketball player is the most dominant basketball player in the history of the sport, so maybe he's not like Secretariat in that facet, but in terms of living up to the expectations many people had for him and the expectations I had for him, I think Donnie Freeman has been the closest to expectations at the start of the year. Now, look, I know he's averaging about 3 or 4.
It's got to be Donnie, though. There's
Yeah,
no other
exactly.
option.
He's averaging
Dude,
about...
It's not JJ, so...
About 4 points per... We'll get to JJ later, man. But he's averaging about 4... Hey, look, you sounded like a horse right there. That was fantastic.
You like that?
He's averaging about 4 points per game less, but the rebounds went up. He's still the same player. He's still the same scorer that you know can get you buckets. He had 28 points just a game ago. He is a very, very solid guy, right? So I think Donnie Freeman is the Secretariat of this team in that he has lived up to expectations.
So we're going to have to take a quick break here from our Kentucky Ostrom Avenue Derby game because we have a caller on the line.
Oh, fantastic.
We got Ian from Syracuse. Ian, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I was told by the producers, Dan, and hello, Ben, that I would be jumping in on the game. Can I not be included in this game?
That was not
fun?
communicated to
Cue
me.
the
Don't
music.
worry.
Cue the music.
Cue it back up. Cue it back up. Cue the music.
Bang.
There we go, Ian.
All
We
the way
bring
to
out
the
the
end.
trumpets just for you, as always.
Honored, gentlemen. Honored.
So we'll go back to you then to finish out the Secretariat question. Who's lived up to your expectations this year on Syracuse men's basketball?
Oh, wow. You've thrown me right into the deep end.
You just asked.
You asked for it.
You just
You asked
us
for
to
it,
throw the
so-
deep end, so there you go.
I'd probably say Tyler Betsy.
Oh, my gosh.
You know?
Tyler Betsy.
I mean, look, this is a Connecticut legend. I'm a proud Connecticut native, although you did say I was from Syracuse. And, you know,
You
at
said
least in
you
the
said
first
you were
half of the
from
season, he was
Syracuse.
shooting the ball decent. Decent enough for a guy who nobody knew coming into the season from Cincinnati. So it's not like the expectations were very high anyway. Kind of went off the board there, I know.
Okay, so you're 0 for 1, and you did not win the first leg of the Kentucky Derby, so we'll go now to the second race of the Triple Crown. Rich Strike, who came out of nowhere to surprise you this season, and Ben, we'll start with you here.
I think this has
And
to
this is like the biggest surprise, 80-1 odds to win the Kentucky Derby.
80-1 odds. Look, I know he's when you look purely at the stats, he's putting up similar numbers to where he had a school prior. Nate Kings came out of nowhere for me, man. I did not expect him to be what he is, which is the best basketball player for Syracuse University this year. He is that. He is Syracuse's best player. I thought he would be a guy coming off the bench, a 6th man, or maybe even a 7th man. He has been the best player for Syracuse men's basketball this year. I couldn't be happier about that, don't get me wrong, but Nate Kings is definitely the biggest surprise.
Ian, over to you.
I'll say Will Kyle.
Yes, that is a great take.
I
like that.
People
Great take.
Had expectations for him to be a great, rim runner and maybe a decent defender, but he was unproven at this level of college basketball. So I feel like Will Kyle has not been the reason this team has lost games at all. If anything, he's the reason why this team hasn't completely falling apart at all times on the defensive end. I mean, he was even in NBA mock drafts for a decent part of the year. So I feel like for as little as people knew about him nationally, that guy has been hooping.
I like
come
that.
on. I
like
mean,
that
did anyone
answer.
know who this guy was before he portaled in? Nope.
A North Dakota native, a North Dakota legend in Will Kyle. I'm going to go with Sadiq White. Like we were, for reasons we were just talking about. This guy came out of nowhere, and now he's the one I want the most to come back next year for Syracuse. He brings the energy, and sure, he might not have the biggest impact on the score sheet on a night-by-night basis, but man, he is someone that always has an effect on the floor, and you can tell. So we'll go to the
How
third
did a
question.
five-star recruit, I'm sorry to jump in here. How did
Okay.
a five-star recruit
He's
come
a
out of
freshman,
nowhere?
though. Freshman.
Uh-huh. Sure.
Okay, we'll go to Epicenter here, which is the biggest disappointment of this season. I think for me this is a pretty clear answer. Ben?
It's not the last time I'm going to talk about him on the double overtime either. J.J. Sterling, 5 minutes ago we went over this. J.J. Sterling has by far been the biggest disappointment for Syracuse. He's the leader of this team, the most tenured player on this team, and he continuously disappears in the biggest moments. The last 51 minutes of basketball he's played against Wake Forest and Louisville, he scored 4 combined points. He is by far the biggest disappointment for Syracuse men's basketball.
And Ian, your final take.
Kyan Anthony. Guys, I knew he wasn't going to be good, but good Lord. 25% from 3. I shot that in the gym a couple days ago.
I don't know. I don't believe that
Anthony's
whatsoever.
son can't shoot. I mean, that's got to be the most ironic thing I have ever heard.
I'm going to go with Nate George because he has just been an utter doom this season for Syracuse. He has the most turnovers on the team by a large margin, and he simply has not delivered what was advertised. This was a guy that was top of the ACC for assists last year, and he has been anything but that for Syracuse so far this season. Ian, we thank you for joining us here on the Kentucky Ostrom Derby, and as always, we love when you join the program, and we will talk to you soon. Ben, we got to bring things back now into the studio. We've named Secretariat, which for me is, without a doubt, we both agreed on this,
Yes.
was Donnie Freeman.
Absolutely.
Rich Strike for you, 80-1 odds, and that ended up being
Excuse me. Yeah, no, Rich Strike ended up being Nate Kings.
Nate Kings
who
for you.
Really came out of nowhere. I expected him to be a bench player.
Nate Kings for you, Sadiq White for me, and then for the biggest disappointment of the season, you went with J.J. Starling. I went with Nate George. I feel like there's just some pretty good picks there overall. The biggest knockouts, my Sadiq one is a little bit iffy for Rich Strike. I'll give it that. But I think outside of that, we did pretty well.
Isn't it ironic too for that last one when it comes to the biggest disappointment? How many options you could pick from for Syracuse men's basketball? I mean, there are a plethora. You got Kyan, you got JJ, you got Nate George. All 3 of those were chosen, and when each of us said it, myself with JJ and we had Ian talking about Kyan, and you mentioned Nate George, I agreed with both of you when you both said those names because it's true. Disappointment.
That this team has been a disappointment, so that is where we are at with things. So now we're going to go from one perspective in us, which was breaking down this year, to next year's odds, because the Kentucky Derby is going to happen again soon, and Syracuse basketball is going to have another season. So
are they?
Oh, man. I think they are. They do have to play a season next year.
Right.
We bring in our producer, Rahil Jaswal. Rahil, you got some
Hello.
odds for us, right? You're the bookmaker over there in the studio.
I was actually hired 20 or so, actually during the game. Picked up another job, so if my mom is listening, that's my job for
Awesome.
the.
I like that
for the for the foreseeable future. But I'm gonna give you a couple odds here to kind of figure out based on, and now we're under the assumption that every single player on this team is coming back next year.
Okay. That can return.
That can return, obviously. Now that is subject to change. So we're going to get your thoughts on these odds. We're going to start at Donnie Freeman, 4 to 6 odds, projected to be the best player coming back next year. Your thoughts on that?
If he was to come back, without a doubt.
If he was to come back,
If he
and
was
let's
to
say
come back
every
without
player
a
is coming
doubt.
back from next year
Yes,
that can.
yes, 1,000,000% he is the favorite. I don't think there's any disputing that.
He should have the best odds to be the best player because he is the best. He's the best non-senior player on this basketball team right now, and he will continue to do that if he's on this team next year. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so no fight back there.
No, sir.
No fight back there. So can I classify myself as 1 for 1 in the odds?
Yes, you may. You may.
Let's go.
That's good.
All right. Now, this is where it gets interesting because, as you guys know, Syracuse as of now has no recruits signed for next year,
Yep.
but the bookmakers have thrown out 7-4 odds for the second best player on the team to be an incoming transfer.
Whoa.
Now, Syracuse hit the portal hard this past, well, a couple months ago with Nate Kings, Nate George. So this is kind of the surprise odds here. What do you think of this here from the bookmakers?
I think that this new head coach and this new athletic director are going to hit, again, assuming that the new head coach is coming. We know the new athletic director is coming, are going to hit a hard reset on this team, and we know they have money to throw out there at players. I think I'm going to say that, yeah, this transfer is going to come in second place. Whoever this new coach is, I would really, really hope and assume they're coming from a team that is doing well in college basketball right now, albeit it could be a mid to low major. But, yeah, maybe it's a player from their own team or just a player from another Power 5 school that is really impressing right now. I like these odds, actually. I'm going to say that the transfer will be – all right, Rahil, chill out over there. But, yes, I do agree with you saying that this will be the second-best player.
I'm going to say that Sadiq White is going to be the second best player on this team, assuming that everybody comes back next season. Well, actually, I'm going to change my answer.
Are you now?
If everyone comes back next season, I'm going to say that Will Kyle is the best player on this team, simply because of the impact he has on the floor. He was everything that Eddie Lampkin wasn't for Syracuse. And if he returns next year, the impact, what he does on the floor, the paint presence for him, I like that from Will Kyle. And he's gotten so much national recognition. I think he's up there as a contender for being the second best.
I would be careful. I may know something, or you may know something I don't. Is Will Kyle available to come back next year? I know he is a senior right now. Does he have that red shirt ability? I'm not sure. If he
I'm
does.
not sure. I think
sure.
I thought this was assuming that
he does
he could
have
come back.
another year of
Now, if he
eligibility,
doesn't,
can come
I'll
back.
go with Sadiq White, and I'll rest my case.
Okay. So I would classify myself as 2 for 2 because Ben agreed with me, right?
Well, I didn't agree with you.
Okay, fine. How about 1.5 out of 2? Does that work?
That's fine.
Does that work? I'm telling you guys, I'm really feeling the music right here. I got to get one of those fancy top hats. You guys know the ones that they have for the races?
I need one of those,
fancy,
too.
stupid, whatever you want to call them.
Hey,
Sure.
I would call them stupid. Very flashy.
Fancy, sure.
Okay.
We'll go.
Next up, so now we go to the third best player on this team, and this is someone that Dan actually just mentioned, and you guys have talked about. Sadiq White coming in at 9-4 odds as the potential to be the third best player. You guys have talked about his impact off the bench. Plenty of eligibility left after being a freshman, but Dan, I know you jumped the gun maybe a little bit on Sadiq White here, but he's sitting at number 3.
Well, can I take him in back-to-back picks?
I mean, if you like this pick, yeah, go ahead. Do as what your heart desires.
I do like this pick a lot because I think you don't expect him to be the best player on the team because that is a tall order as a sophomore after his freshman year where he got some experience, but he really wasn't the guy yet. I think he can step in the role to be the guy, and it's just the way he plays on the floor is unlike anything I see from any of the other Syracuse players out there. I think his presence on the floor is unlike any other, and I think that's a valid take. I'm going to agree with that.
I'm going to bet against Sadiq White here. I'm sure we're going to bring up my answer in a little bit. I'm assuming so. So, no, I'm going to say Sadiq White. I don't like those odds. I'm not going to take Sadiq to be the third best player on this team next year.
Do you have anyone in mind? That
I do, but I think we're about to get to him, so not to run into the same situation we just had with Dan.
Okay,
I think we'll continue on.
We'll move on here to the fourth best player. Is projected to be at 7-2 odds, plus 350, might I add, of the request of our producer, Nate Martin. It's Kyan Anthony. Now, I know he hasn't had the best freshman season, but he has shown flashes, and the bookmakers have him coming in right after Sadiq White. Ben, was this the player that you were thinking would pop up?
It sure was, man. I read you like a book right there, Rahel.
You know me pretty well.
I do truly think that Kyan Anthony, we mentioned it before, Dan, when we were talking, when he has that consistent role, when he's playing starting minutes, he is, at the end of the day, a pure scorer. And when he gets those 20-plus minutes a game, the most recent game that he had 20-plus minutes was against SMU. He dropped 13 points in that game and shot 5 for 10 from the field. Right? Another game that he played just 16 minutes in against North Carolina, dropped 10 points. Right? He played over 20 against Miami, dropped 13 points again. This is a guy that, without J.J. Starling and without Nate Kings, with both of them graduating, will slot into that starting role and look like and be the third best player on this team. I'm going to bet that he will at least be the fourth best player because I think he'll be third.
Hey, newsflash here. Kyan Anthony played 19 minutes tonight and scored 4 points while going 1 for 6 from the field. I just think that if Syracuse goes into the transfer portal and gets a bunch of guys, there's just not going to be enough room for Kyan Anthony to build out his specified role again because he hasn't, for me, shown enough to deserve one of those spots over someone else that Syracuse can get in the transfer portal, so I'm going to have to disagree with that.
All right, Dan, you've been on. You're not really liking these.
No, I was on the last one.
You were on the last one. Okay, fair enough. Now it should be interesting, pending what happens with Adrian Autry. Maybe Kyan Anthony gets a new coach, and we could see some other things happening for him. Next up, we got 2 more to get to here. The final 2 on the docket, coming in at plus 800, 8-1 odds. A guy that has had a lot of troubles this year, and that's Nathan George. The Georgia Tech transfer, still projected, if he comes back, to be one of the better players on the Syracuse team. But, Ben, would you agree with this given the way he's played this year?
This is for Nate George to be the 5th best player. He's got plus 800 odds, 8-1 odds.
Yes.
Yeah, I would think that Nate George will. Oh man, look, it's tough because I do think there's gonna be some transfers coming in that will replace him, but he was a really impressive player when it came to Georgia Tech. He averaged 6.5 assists and 12 points per game. That is the point guard that Syracuse thought they were getting. Is it the point guard they got? No, not by any stretch of the imagination. I think, again, pending a new coach possibly coming in, we've been talking as if it will happen because everyone believes it will happen. Yeah, that new coach is going to put Nate George right into shape and right into his Georgia Tech shape. If not better, Nate George will be a top 5 player on this team next year.
I do agree with you that he will be top 5 next year because you just can't deny what he's done in the past. This is just a fluke year, in my opinion, for him. And even though that he's struggled, he's still shown flashes. He's still shown his Georgia Tech self. And this is, again, you brought in Jaquan Carlos 2 years ago as what you thought was going to be your point guard, and then you bring in a guy with Nate George who had way more credentials to be that guy, and he hasn't shown up. Sometimes these things take time, but I still think that Nate George can, without a doubt, be a top 5 player on the team.
All right, awesome stuff, guys. We're going to keep this one quick. We've got one more here on the docket, and that is a guy that Ian mentioned.
Calvin Russell. Give it to me.
I don't know if Ian mentioned it. That would be something if Calvin Russell found his way onto this list. But it's going to be Tyler Betsy at 20-1 odds, plus 2,000 to be one of the better players on this Syracuse team. We'll quickly get your thoughts here on what the bookmakers have.
I'll take it all day because I don't actually think he's been bad this season. He's done what he's asked, and that is hit the 3 ball. Sure, he hasn't hit it as consistently as Syracuse has wanted, but he's done his job this season.
I am a huge fan of Tyler Betsy. Do I think he'll be a top 6 player on the team next year? Man, it's going to be close. It depends how many upper echelon transfers they bring in. I'm going to be with Dan on this one, though. He's shooting 40% from the 3, like you mentioned. 7 points per game as well, which is double what he did at Cincinnati. I'm really impressed by Betsy. He was a fantastic high school player. Yeah, he'll be a top 6 player on Syracuse next year.
All right, so overall, I think I did pretty well. Thank you guys for letting me join in, and who knows? Well, maybe we'll revisit this in a year and see how the bookmakers.
We'll have to. I need my money.
Yeah, so that is our Kentucky Derby segment right there, Ben. I'm glad that we got to take a trip out and, place a couple wagers on some horses, right? Exactly. But Syracuse basketball wrapping up shop here. We still have our final words to get to on the double overtime. Louisville taking down Syracuse 77-62. Ben and I will give what we think Syracuse needs to do going forward on the other side of this break here on the double overtime.
Hi, I'm Dwayne Kokenauer, the host of Sunday Night Blues, airing on Sundays from 5 p.m. till 8 p.m. on 88.3 FM WAER Syracuse or WAER.org. I play an eclectic mix of blues music, including Chicago, Delta, early, electric, jump, contemporary, and local blues. To hear the entire spectrum of blues music, tune into Sunday Night Blues with Dwayne Kokenauer.
With so much going on, it can be hard to keep up with who's doing what and why. I'm Aisha Roscoe, host of Weekend Edition Sunday. letting you know whether it's news from across the country and the world or a deep conversation about a novel, movie, or music. We got you. Grab your coffee or your earbuds and tune in to Weekend Edition from NPR News.
Sunday morning from 8 to 10 on WAER, your local NPR station from the Newhouse School at Syracuse University.
Kicks to McNeely, left wing three, he fouled, and he knocks it down. A 4-point play on the way from Isaac McNeely.
Boy, oh boy, Isaac McNeely was knocking those down all night long in the 62-77 loss that Syracuse men's basketball suffered at the hands of Louisville in Louisville. Welcome back to the Double Overtime with Ben Chadwick alongside Dan Shalom. Dan, it's 12:50 in the morning. We've got just about 10 minutes before we have to get out of here. They're kicking us out. We could talk ball.
We could stay forever, Ben.
We could talk ball for a few
all
more
night.
hours at least. They're kicking us out in 10 minutes. So I think it's only fair we wrap it up in the way we always do. Let's get to our final words about this game. We'll start with you.
Yeah, I'll start it off here. And what I'm going to say for my final word here is that Syracuse is absolutely nothing to lose at this point. And that's why Pitt is a must-win game. You cannot finish with back-to-back losing seasons. That is not Syracuse basketball. That hasn't happened since the 60s, since way back. You have to play your heart out against Pittsburgh to make sure that you are going to win this game and finish above 500 simply for the standard of Syracuse basketball. Here's the thing, though. It's not going to be easy either. Pitt's in the midst of a 3-game win streak right now, and they are on fire. And I just think it's going to be hard for Syracuse, especially in the last game of the year. You kind of know what your fate holds for you in the ACC tournament. You have to go out there and win 4 games if you want to make March Madness. Syracuse at this point has to realize that you must go and put your full effort out there, go and win that game for just the pride of Syracuse basketball, and to show that these players are still bought in, because throughout this show, there's clearly been doubt on if these players are still bought in. Go out there, show it in front of your fan base for one final time in 2026. Finish above 500 simply for yourself so you can show that you still care and that this program still has some sort of value on a national level.
Yeah, we know. We had Gino Antamarino on the show earlier. He knows and he believes that they still care. That is something up for debate on whether that should even be something that is awarded and praised out of them, is if they care. Again, we talked about this is D1 basketball, man. Participation trophies, we're a bit past that stage. I do think you make a great point, though, there. It's going to be an interesting home finale, regular season finale in the Dome in just a few days on Saturday. For me, I mentioned earlier that we were going to bring it up one more time. This is me bringing it up one more time, and it's to say this. My final word is that J.J. Starling should not start for Syracuse men's basketball anymore. I thought this maybe a week or two ago, and tonight and his last game against Wake Forest all but confirmed that for me. Look, this is a guy who, when you think about Syracuse men's basketball over the last 3 years, you think J.J. Starling, most tenured player on this team. He came into the season as the leader of this team, and everyone looked to him. How is J.J. going to lead this team after a very, very unfortunate season last year? How is he going to lead this team to March Madness, to a deep run in the ACC tournament? Because they got to do that, right? This is Syracuse men's basketball. He's disappeared. And I understand. Last year, he was dropping near 40 bombs in game and usually dropping scores in the points in the high 20s. He was averaging 17 points per game. He has disappeared in the biggest moments possible for this team. When the team needs him most, which is right now. The team needs him more and more and more as each loss piles up. We mentioned it before. The last 2 games, J.J. Starling has played 51 minutes. He has had 4 points on 2 for 11 shooting. That is unacceptable from a starter that is averaging well over 20 minutes per game. It is something that cannot happen, and to make it not happen, you take him out of the starting lineup. The lineup that they should have out there consists of Nate George at the point. You have Nate Kings at the 2, and you would throw, I would say, Sadiq White or Donnie Freeman at the 3, and then vice versa with the 4 as well. William Kyle can play the 5. That is the most optimal starting lineup for Syracuse. No, it's not the lineup that you want to develop Sadiq White. I'm not doing it for that reason. I'm doing it because I really do think Sadiq White is better for this team's starting lineup. J.J. Starling is no longer a starter for Syracuse men's basketball because he has regressed in college basketball. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's one that is the truth. That is my final word.
I mean, you said it perfectly, and that would be a pretty drastic change if after everything that's gone down in J.J. Starling's Syracuse career that he does not actually start down the stretch, but at this point, maybe that's what the program needs. I talked about it a little bit. Syracuse facing Pittsburgh on Saturday, and that is going to be the regular season finale. Pitt winners of 2 of its last 3. They are playing Florida State tomorrow. It could be 3 of 4. That is not going to be an easy one for Syracuse by any stretch of the mean on Saturday. And while it might not matter for them qualifying for the ACC tournament at this point, it's definitely one that counts for pride. As much as we never say you want to play for pride, this is one of those games.
It's all about getting hot at the right time, right? And now, while Pitt, many people think is in a similar situation to Syracuse, where they got no shot at March Madness, barring an ACC championship win, which will not happen for either of these teams. They're getting hot at the right time. You want to know who isn't? Syracuse, man. They had a 4-game losing streak earlier on in the year, not even that early on, just about a month ago or a month and a half ago. They had a 4-game losing streak. They're on yet another 4-game losing streak. Could turn into their longest losing streak of the season to cap off the regular season. That is the worst way to go, and an even worse way to go is, by benching J.J. Starling. But, I mean, like I said, I think it's what has to happen. Do you agree with me? I'm curious before we have to get out of here.
I mean, it's really, really hard.
The lineup I'm offering to you consists of Nate George, Nate King, Sadiq White, Donnie Freeman, and William Kyle.
Yeah.
Is that the best lineup Syracuse could put out there?
As of right now, based on the most recent performances, I would say that gives Syracuse the best chance to win. And it's not a personal thing. It's just about what gives Syracuse the best chance to go out there and win a ball game. And I think Gino mentioned it very well, is that Syracuse's strategy doesn't change throughout games. It's not like Syracuse would ever make that move either to bench J.J. Starling. I think they should do it. I personally don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either. Don't get me wrong. If I'm the head coach of Syracuse men's basketball right now, that is the extremely tough decision I make, because guess what? How many more decisions do you have left to make? That's the thing. Make some bold choices to see if something can spark with this team. Can you win a few games in the ACC tournament? You're not going to beat Duke. You're not going to beat North Carolina. You're not going to beat those teams, but can you beat some teams that you have a small chance against? I think that is the biggest thing. But anything else you want to throw out there for the people, Dan? I know we've been talking for a little bit now. It's close to 1 a.m.
We've been going for a while. I'd just like to see Syracuse win, but hey, if you don't want to hear about Syracuse men's basketball, luckily there is a top 10 team on the Hill that you can tune into right here on WAER.
There absolutely is. The next broadcast here on WAER is Saturday, March 7th. Number 10 Syracuse men's lacrosse heads down to Baltimore to face number 11 Johns Hopkins. The game time for that is at 1 p.m. That means McClurg Remodeling countdown to face-off is at 12:30. And we got a Dan dot for that one. We got a Dan
I'll be
double
right back
overtime.
with you.
Dan Shalom and Dan Papilla will be on the post-game show, double overtime.
Hopefully you can join us, too, from Baltimore. We'll see. We'll see if we have enough time.
Either me or Alex Burstyn. I would be delighted to join you once again in just a few days. That double overtime is going to go until 4 p.m. due to the Pitt men's basketball game, which is Saturday, March 7th at 4:30, with McClurg Remodeling countdown to tip-off at 4 p.m. for that one. And then Dan Papillo and Josh Richardson will be on the double overtime for that until 7:30. Now, sports night as well, Friday, March 6th from 8 to 9 with Jish Shikolsky and Griffin Marcy. That is on Friday. You can call in at 315-443-2011. Listen to the Ostrom Avenue podcast, wherever you get your podcasts at WAER.org. Some thank yous to hand out to our producer, Nate Martin, our engineer pressing all the buttons on the board, Rahil Jaswal, our reporter, Gino Antamarino, and for desk, Ellie Gelman, Augie Walters, and Josh Rajanoff. You're listening to WAER Syracuse. This has been the double overtime with Dan Shalom and Ben Chadwick. Have a great night.